Yikes. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Since Star of Destiny has finally hit theaters today, here are my thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. I have been a huge fan of the Indiana Jones franchise ever since I was a small little kid. But, like 3, I didn't know much about it. I do remember seeing bits and pieces of it, but I had not seen 3 in a while. But 4 was never a movie that I actually finished. I'd seen bits and pieces of it, I've seen scenes from the movie, but it's never been a film that I sat down and just watched it all the way through. It's never been one of those films. I do not know why. I do remember that one day I tried to watch this, but I passed out watching it. Then I just never went back and watched it. I do not know why, but I finally sat down and watched the entire film in one sitting. And what do I think? Well, you're about to find out. Starting off with my positives on Kingdom of Crystal Skull is the opening segment of the movie. That opening segment just felt like old classical Indiana Jones that we have been missing for almost 2 decades. Back when this movie first came out, which came out in 2008, we had not seen Indiana Jones for almost 20 years, so it was probably happy to see that whole thing going on again, where they're trying to track down like the Crystal Skull thing, so they can go and like do their thing with the villain arc and all that. And Indiana Jones is throwing gunpowder in the air, so like it'll because it's magnetic and it'll catch like anything metal, basically like a magnet works. And then his friend betrays him, and then he tries to escape, and then it goes to like this bomb shelter thing. That whole opening segment, just when he's trying to escape from them, and he's like fighting some of them, throwing them out of the car. It just felt like old classical Indiana Jones that we have all been missing for so many years. Really enjoyed a lot of the callbacks to the other movies, like in like the opening segment after Indiana Jones escapes. Now, if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and the ending, you can see that the thing that they were hunting down in that movie, they put it in a box. But in this movie, you can actually see it because a bunch of boxes fall down and then it's there. And that was a nice little callback to it. There's also a few callbacks that I won't really get into much, but it was nice for someone who's always grown up loving this franchise and who's loved this character and all these adventures that we've been on. It's nice to see some of the like references. I almost forgot the name for it. The references to it. I also really like the little callback to Indiana Jones's dad. Sadly, he passed away like Sean Connery in real life. Well, actually, Sean Connery didn't die when this movie first came out, so they could have brought him back, but I guess we have to deal with Shia La Beouf's character. I'm so happy. It was very nice to see Karen Allen's character return as the love interest from Raiders of Lost Ark. Now, this could go back to the references to the other films, but Karen Allen has not been seen in the Indiana Jones franchise since 1981, and it was nice to see her character return, and then we find out more about her, what she's been up to, and about Shia LaBeouf's character, which I will talk about later. It was just nice. I've always liked her character. I thought she was always the best love interest of the franchise, which isn't really saying much because if you look at the other love interests, she's always been the best to me, and she's always been a character I've liked. Some people think that her character isn't that great, and I sit there wondering, why? What's your deal? I'm waiting. Now moving on to my mixed aspects, and that's the villain of this movie. Now, I don't hate the villain of this movie. I'm not blaming the actress for her portrayal. She plays the character pretty good. She does her part. But the villain of this movie is a character I never found intimidating. The entire time I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm supposed to be scared of her because I'm really not. Because I was just sitting there like, dude, she's not intimidating, like at all. I thought she was interesting for what they gave her and the way they wrote her, but she's not an intimidating villain. And then in the end, she just dies like that. That's a that, that's your big bad of your movie. I've seen better. Well, yet again, all the other villains of the franchise have been better. Now moving on to my negatives is the CGI of this movie. I hated the CGI. This franchise has been known for great practical effects. This has been put on, like, basically the Hall of Fame. These first three movies have been in the Hall of Fame, basically, for best practical effects. Every time I watch people do videos on, like, best practical effects ever, I've seen the first three Indiana Jones movies in that talk. And Steven Spielberg has always been known for great practical effects. Almost every movie he's worked on, great practical effects. He would only add CGI here and there so it can make it look something. But the CGI here is horrible. It's maybe because this came out in 2008 and we've got better CGI and computers since then, but it looks bad. For an Indiana Jones movie, it should be a crime that they added CGI. And I've heard the same thing about Dial of Destiny, that the CGI in there was bad too. But this, what the fuck? There was one CGI moment I thought was kind of cool. It was probably the most remembered scene from this movie is when all the ants like take that one guy and they're slowly eating him and pull him into the like their mansion or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That was the only cool CGI moment. It looked bad, but it was pretty cool to watch. But other than that, there's a lot of CGI during the action sequences that just look like dog shit, basically. It's bad. Watch it for yourself. It's bad. Like, really bad. I just want to bring up the comedy in this movie. What the fuck? Okay, so I talked about the comedy in The Last Crusade, and I thought that was too goofy. But I did in fact say that it worked in some areas, maybe twice, I believe I said, which mostly came from Sean Connery himself and his character. But in this movie, there was not one moment, one, where I laughed. None of the comedy moments in this movie is good. It's just bad. It mostly comes from Shia LaBeouf's character, but there's a part in this movie where he's fighting off the villain with a sword, which is a pretty cool sequence. And then a bunch of trees are like hitting him in his dick. That's supposed to be played for laughs, but I did not laugh. I was just in there going, who wrote that? Who wrote this in? Why did you fucking allow that? Why are you putting this into your movie? Indiana Jones is not a film franchise meant to make you laugh. It's meant to make you sit there, enjoy the adventure, make you feel suspense for the characters, and make you feel that they're going to get there. Not me sitting here watching Shia LaBeouf's character getting hit in the dick over and over by a bunch of fucking trees. And speaking of Shia LaBeouf, what the fuck is he doing in this movie? A lot of people, before I even watched this movie, I've heard a lot of people saying, like, oh, I hated Shia LaBeouf in that character. He should have just gone back to Transformers. Why is Shia LaBeouf so bad in this movie? Oh, God, I'm so glad he's not back in this movie. And I was like, well, how bad can he be? And he's bad. His performance is horrible. His character is fucking horrible as well. There's a part in this movie where it does the most cliche thing, where Karen Allen's character comes back. Like I said, it was nice to see her. But then we find out that Shia LaBeouf's character is Indiana Jones's son. That is the most cliche thing I have ever seen in a fucking movie. Why? Why is that in this movie? It plays no part into the story. It has no meaning. I think they only put that in here so Shia LaBeouf can have a fucking purpose. He did not need that. He could have just been there for the adventure. But the fact that you even added that, why? What fucking purpose does that serve? I want to talk about the continuity in this movie. Continuity in this movie is basically just thrown out the window. It's basically like a Fast and Furious movie. It's just thrown out all the window. Like, hey, yeah, you can survive that. There's a part in this movie where it just literally pissed me off. I was like, that's not how that fucking works. Where the nuclear bomb testing scene, which is another iconic scene in this movie, which I thought was pretty cool. There's a part in this where Indiana Jones, oh god, what's going on with my voice? Indiana Jones, he's trying to survive it. He's trying to hide from it. Like, trying to protect himself. But he can't get out because he doesn't have a vehicle to leave that area. So what does he do? He hides in a fucking fridge. And what my issue is that when they set off that nuclear bomb, on that nuclear bomb testing, everything melted like it was paper in a fire. But somehow, this fridge survived a nuclear blast. That is not how that fucking works. Sure, these can consider be nitpicks, but it just fucking bothers me that that fridge survived this nuclear testing area. How? Explain that to me. Everything burnt like it was paper, like it was fucking nothing. But this fridge, why? The continuity error is when so this whole sequence when they're getting chased down by the villains, like an Indiana Jones movie would. But there's a part in this movie where Karen Allen's character decides to take their car, which is literally the shape of a bow, which is really hard to not miss. And they're just driving, trying to get away from him, and then Indiana Jones is like, we're heading off of a cliff, and he's like, that's the idea. But she drives off and lands right into a tree. First off, they went head first, I want to add. And if they went head first, they would have went right through that tree. And they would have crashed. But apparently, landing right in the tree, it also bends the tree, which a car would not be able to bend that type of tree, I just want to add. And apparently when they drive off and slingshot it. The weight of that car would not be able to bend that fucking tree. But hey, continuity is out of the fucking way, apparently. All in all, guys, I don't hate this movie. I think this movie's a passable Indiana Jones movie. It's a fun adventure, but it has a lot of issues. But if this were the way to end it, I'm glad that we're getting the new Dial of Destiny. I'm glad they decided not to end it this way. But this is a movie where I would just say that you just go ahead and stream it on Disney Plus or Paramount. What do you guys think of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull? Do you actually enjoy this movie, or are you like me and you just think it's okay, or do you hate this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. And if you like this video, like it. If you loved it, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and so you will get notified for my latest videos. But until my next video, take care.